there, I'm Miss Schmidt. I'm new to Aspenwood this year, and I teach grade 3, 4, 5 Montessori. And today I'm going to teach you some things about our sun theme that we're working on this year. I have a sign that says radiation in my hand because the idea of radiation, of everything going out from the center, like fireworks bursting, for example, is a very common theme in art. It's also a very common theme in nature. So we see it not just in images of the sun, we also see it in things like sunflowers, and we also see it in things like beautiful, delicate spider webs. So today I'm going to just show staff and students some techniques and strategies and ideas around doing collage, around the concept of the sun and it radiating life and light out from its center point. So I'm going to start showing you how you might build a collage, focusing on radiation and the sun. So I've taken a piece of orange construction paper and I've taken a paper plate and laid it down on the paper and traced around it. And I've traced around it with a yellow pencil crayon, which is pretty close to orange. That way it shows, and I can use it as a guideline, but it doesn't show so much that it will show up at the end of the project. I'm then going to take some of my strips of paper, and what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to build a plus sign, or two lines coming out from the center that have 90-degree angles. It doesn't have to be exact. It's not like we're building a building or anything, but we want it to be close so that these 4 pieces of pie in the corners look as equal as possible. And you've got great eyes. I'm sure on your own you can get something pretty much like mine. Then comes the next part, which is the idea of taking some other strips, and I'm using a different color because a big part of collage is variety, using different textures and different colors so that in the end it's very interesting and everybody wants to look at it and say ooh and ah. So now if I have a piece like that, you can all see that this section is much smaller than this one. And I want to try to now divide it into pretty equal quarters. So I think that that's pretty good now. So I'm going to leave it like so. Then I'm going to take another kind of paper, and this time I'm going to take a piece of scrapbook paper that I've cut up on the paper cutter because this paper has a pattern on it, and patterns again add more interest to a collage. If everything's too much the same, it's a little bit boring in the end. So this way we're adding in variety. And what you can see I'm doing is I'm going around, and I've got lots of this paper because I like this paper a lot, and I'm filling it in between the other pieces. So now you can see that I've got a lot of radiation happening. Things are moving all over the page and really seeming like fireworks or light from the sun coming out from the middle. But I don't feel quite done yet. I might take some pieces of paper that I've cut with fancy scissors, and I might see if I want to add those in. No, I've decided that looks too bright and too big. I'm going to try something else. I've got some shiny tin foil with a texture on it, and it's gold on one side and silver and red on the other. I really like that. That looks really sparkly and really makes me think of the sun. So in the gaps in between some of the other pieces, I'm going to add in some of these nice gold foil pieces. Now, you might be thinking, Miss Schmidt, you haven't glued anything down. No, I haven't, because I'm just keeping my video demonstration shorter for you. You would, of course, be gluing things down at each spot along the way, building your layers. But I'm just demonstrating, so I'll just imagine that I've glued everything down along the way. So I can spread these out in different spots until I am feeling happy with my collage. And then what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to take either a cut piece of paper like this yellow piece that I've cut already, or I'm going to maybe take a paper plate, and in this case I have a paper plate with a lemon on it. And so that would be the last thing that I'd do, would be to glue down the center of the sun with all the radiating designs coming out of it. And hopefully you'll do something that you're really proud of. I'm happy with my collage. Farther, okay. As you can see, when you see my collage panned out from farther away, I have a whole bunch of rays coming out of the sun that radiate and extend right off the page. And if there's lots of room for displaying, maybe it will stay this way, and maybe it can just stay, remind us of how the sun goes far beyond the limits of just where the light rays start. Or what we might do at this time is, when everything is glued down, is simply use the paper cutter, the teacher, or some scissors as a student, and just go around and trim each piece of paper so that they all just come to the edge of the page. That way it could also go in a frame if you really love it and want to take it home and frame it. Some classes may also want to get more original or more unique in the way they do things, or maybe your class just loves to paint. So another way that you can prepare the strips for the sun is teachers can take pieces of 11 by 17 paper and measure out 1-inch lines like I've done here, horizontal or vertical. The papers can be run through the photocopier, and then the painting can be done on the other side. I've done a couple of examples, one showing gradation from yellow through orange to orangey red using tempera paints, and one using splashing technique, which is fun, but best done outside and on a day when it's nice and sunny out. So these strips could easily then be cut, and then some of the pieces in your collage, just like the strip that I had showed earlier that had a pattern on it, the patterns and designs could be generated by you, which is pretty cool. And what's fun about doing it this way is that you probably only need part of your paper. All of the rest of the paper could be shared. And so then communally, you can share and mix and match and have a really wide variety of beautiful strips of colors coming out from your sun. Going back to the idea of using more standard papers, I'll just show you a few examples that students have made before. In this case, we were focusing on using torn paper edges instead, which is also an option. So you can see in this piece, if you look carefully, that the paper has been torn rather than cut with scissors or a paper cutter, because there's so many options in collage. There's another one, kind of similar in concept to the one I demonstrated earlier, but this time the papers have been torn again, so that the edges are more irregular. This is another one by a student made, and this time they added a face on their sun, because that just brings life and personality to the sun. And after all, we need the sun for life, or we wouldn't be here. And so it's nice to perhaps honor it with the face. This is another collage made by an African adult, very famous artist, and this is a take on a collage from him. And notice this time, instead of radiating outward from the center, the radiations are rippling out from the center, much like when you throw a pebble in the pond and you see all of the concentric circles growing bigger away from the center. So this is another possibility. And lastly, I'll just show you one more collage done by another student, and this time it's more of a sunset or a sunrise. And so instead of showing the entire sun, only part of the sun is shown. And again, a top piece is laid down, and side pieces can be laid down, the corner pieces next, and then the ones in between. Also notice this student used an A-B pattern, skinny and bright, thicker paper and lighter, skinny and bright, thicker paper and lighter, all the way through. So it's another possible way to lay out your pieces. So many possibilities in collage. Hope you all have lots of fun.